Hello and welcome to the Biz Talk Live Show. Yes, we are here for another episode of our show. I am your host, Shante R. Roddy. We are so glad to have you here on our Facebook page. I have a guest here with me today. I will introduce her in just a second. Just want to let you guys know that we are a show that provides a platform for entrepreneurs and small business owners to share their journeys so that they can inspire and empower you to pursue and accomplish your dreams. So that's why we are here today. And we're going to be speaking with our guest, Jennifer Hottle. And I want her to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about her and what it is that you do. And then we're going to delve right in.
So, hi, Shante. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me here today. I'm Jennifer Hottle. I am the president and CEO of J2H Consulting. It's my own firm. So I am a profit strategist and a business coach. I help small business owners and entrepreneurs like yourselves get really clear with their numbers, understanding what their goals are, and then knowing how to implement systems to organize their money to fund their goals.
I like that. So we're going to be I want to talk about money today because that is important to everybody who is in business. Okay, you need money, you need funding, you need to be making a profit. That all really helps you to be able to assess the health of your business. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so that's great. Okay, so tell us, how did you get started in this? How long have you been doing this, and how did you get started?
So I've been running J2H as a consultant for a little over 3 years now. And honestly, I got started sort of under fire. I had been working in a medical practice for about 15 years. And my roles evolved over that time. I had applied my accounting degree and my background more on the finance side. But as my role grew with this business, as the business grew, I ended up actually more on the strategic side, planning, budgeting, more on the planning and back end and organizational end of things rather than more in the day-to-day. They had an office manager for that. So I picked up an MBA along the way. And so I really helped this company grow. They ended up expanding. And then I was doing that for about 15 years. And then the practice ended up at the point where it kind of outgrew me, or I outgrew it, I should say. So I decided, and I had a real love for. I found that there was a real struggle amongst small business owners. At first, I thought it was just private practice physicians, but the more that I started talking to other people who own businesses, the more I found that across the board, regardless of industry, cash flow, it was the biggest struggle with knowing how to really plan for positive cash flow. It's one thing when you look at your profit and loss statements and you look at balance sheets and things that have already happened to see how things turned out. But what oftentimes ended up happening is that it was a struggle throughout that entire year to see what turned out to be a profit and not having anything to show for it, not, having it be, again, really such a struggle just to get to that point. And so I decided to make it my mission to help small business owners, particularly family businesses and professional services, be able to not only be profitable, but plan for that profit and enjoy it along the way.
Oh, that's awesome. So, okay, so you're in corporate America. You kind of outgrew where you were, but you decided to take this path rather than go, get another job. You decided to turn your gifts and your passion for small business into a business.
Yes.
That is so exciting. Okay,
well, my life really changed since when I first started in corporate America. I was in my 20s, I was single, and so myself was really the only focus. And over time, I had gotten married, and I have 3 little kids. So when it came to that point where you're right, I could have easily gone on to another corporate job and applied my talents there and grown there as well. But it would never have supported the lifestyle that I was looking to have. And I really needed something that not only was rewarding, but it had to be flexible. And I wanted to be able to be here, watch my kids grow up and be here when they needed me, and enjoy that part of my life. So creating my own business was the most logical choice for me.
And can you tell us a little bit about what that transition was like for you? Was it like a hard stop? You just decided to leave and then you transitioned? Were you financially prepared to take that move? Like, just walk us through a little bit about the process of transition into your own business.
Sure. So, it was not easy. I wish I could say that it was. I thought it was going to be. All the years of my experience between my education and my practical world experience really didn't. I thought it prepared me enough to be able to just, oh yeah, sure, I can start a business and I know what to do. And going from working for a company where they've had infrastructure and resources to being on your own. And now I'm not just wearing the strategy financial hat or the consultant hat. I am wearing all of them simultaneously. And so financially, I mean, it was a struggle in the beginning. And the biggest thing was that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
As much as, I did, I was just learning about the online world, what that was all about. I had no idea about it. So I was gobbling up just about any bit of information, webinars, online courses, local courses. Our library system had a great one. I mean, I was anywhere I could learn on what to do, I was doing it. And it wasn't for lack of information. The problem was that I didn't know what information I truly needed.
Right.
I knew I was struggling. I knew I was having a hard time getting new clients. I just didn't know why and what kind of help I would have needed to do that. And so my first year in business was really, really hard, probably harder than it needed to be. And that was when I decided to make the decision to bring on help.
That's good. And so when you made the decision to bring on help, because we always talk about the need for entrepreneurs and small businesses to get the help they need. So whether you're automating, you're delegating, or you're outsourcing, everybody needs help. So what type of help did you bring on to be able to help you to overcome the challenges that you were experiencing during your first year?
So I thought my biggest challenge was marketing and sales. Those were areas that I didn't have a strong skill set in, nor did I have a strong background in. And so what I was finding was that was where I thought I needed it. And I had been hearing over time about business coaches. I didn't know a lot about them. I knew they were there. And come to find, as I was doing my own research, there was a whole lot of them and different kinds of them. And so I looked and I met people and I thought, I figured it's one of those things I would know it when I saw it. And thankfully, about a year after I was in business, I was fortunate to meet who is now my coach. Her name's Erin Morgan. And she's a success strategist. But at the time, she had what I thought was a bigger, strong marketing background, which she does. But what it turned out in the end was that she was really coming in to help me laser focus who I am, what I do, what I have to offer. And then really her big strong set for me was really teaching me about sales and the sales process, and about how that you can do it in a very compassionate, loving, and with integrity.
That's good. Yeah. That's fantastic. So what does it mean to you to be your own boss?
Oh, golly. Initially, everyone kind of goes into it, as from what I've been hearing myself and other people, about having this freedom, right? And the thing is that the freedom can mean a lot of different things. But I think the biggest thing for me, even through my own struggles in getting my business working and off the ground, has been the freedom of time. And sometimes it's, the freedom is, maybe I've got too much time in between clients or things. But the biggest thing for me was the fact that I've been able to be here for my kids when they needed me. When my mom got really sick, I was able to, because of the nature of what I do, I can pretty much do what I do anywhere. And I was really fortunate that I could still care for my mom, be at the hospital and things. And then I would go out in the parking lot and take a client call and then come back. And so, I mean, it was difficult, don't get me wrong, but the fact that I could do that, I would never have been able to have had that time with my family without having this. So regardless of where I'm at with this business, whether, I'm enjoying such successes or I'm struggling, I always focus on the fact that having this company is allowed me to really give the gift of time to my family.
And that is so important. That is so important. I know I feel the same way. Time, the value of time. A lot of times I don't think we understand the value of time and how quickly it passes us by, and how much we can miss if we don't really pay attention. And having the opportunity to run your own business and have that flexibility to spend time the way you want to with your family, doing the things that you love and care about is super fantastic. So that's awesome that the initiatives and your business that you're working on is allowing you to be able to do that. So what would you say motivates you on a daily basis? So we talked about the challenges, you have the ups and downs, so you have to stay motivated. What's your motivation?
I go back to my family. My husband and my kids are my biggest motivation. And I'd say followed by that are the clients who need me. My clients, when I see how much they achieve, where, even if it's either they take big strides or even small ones where they're stuck and a quick conversation helps them get past that and now they can move on. Those are the things that motivate me because I know that I can do that. I've seen that. So I've seen what my business can do, again, what brings it to my family, and then what the impact that it's had on my clients as well.
Okay, good. So as we're talking about, what motivates you, because being an entrepreneur and running your own business, it comes with many challenges. You have ups and downs.
Yeah.
I know people are going through it. I know I go through it, and you have to stay motivated. And I know you said that your family and your children motivate you. What is your greatest inspiration?
My inspiration, I was thinking about that too. And I guess one of my biggest inspirations has got to be my dad. My dad came to this country, he's from the Philippines, and he came here with really nothing other than his vision for the kind of doctor he wanted to be, his education, and that's about it. And he worked really hard. And it's funny because it's not something I ever was consciously aware of as a kid. Mm-hmm. All I knew was that, dad was, going to school, or he was teaching, or, he was working. And it wasn't until I was older and realized the fact that what he went through and the sacrifices that he made and the hard work, and that he built a successful practice, which is a small business, interestingly, from scratch. It was amazing to me to see it. And because I was on the receiving end of that, to know the kind of life that my brother and sister and I had growing up because of what he was able to do, that is amazing to me. And that's the kind of entrepreneur that I strive to be as well.
That's fantastic. Yeah. What would you, and I love that because you have that model like in your father too, mm-hmm. To know that entrepreneurship is possible, that you can actually do it, even if you're going through challenges. So I love to see families that are entrepreneurship families. So I think that that's fantastic.
Yeah.
When we talk about our business and our families and relationships, I always like to talk about this piece. and how starting a business and operating a business has had an impact on your family. Because I know it has, both positive and negative, not just your family, but your relationships, whether it's your colleagues, your friends, your families. Tell us a little bit about the impact of starting your own business and how that has impacted your relationships.
So, well, my husband is also, he owns his own business, and he actually had his before I even started mine. So, having these people around me who I knew were doing it. I've got family members that also own businesses. So I had some really great examples of the fact that the people around me, I knew it was possible. I could see it. They could see them doing it. So the relationships, what ended up happening is, don't get me wrong, there were some struggles along the way. In terms of, the late nights, or I may have to be out of town to go to conferences, or I've been doing tons of networking. I'm involved in networking groups. I serve on a board for one. So probably the biggest challenge in terms of my relationships is vying for my time. And that's been a tricky balance because especially as a small business owner and an entrepreneur, there's nothing more important than getting yourself out there and networking. That's how you're going to build it, right? There's other components, but that's one of the things. You got to get visibility. That was probably the biggest thing too, was getting people to understand what I do. Most people didn't understand what I did. And so nobody asked me a lot of questions. So it became a lot of education on my part to explain, hey, so what do you do? kind of thing. So, and I found because of that, because it's not like I have a title where people intuitively know what I am. I'm not an accountant, strictly, I am not strictly a bookkeeper. I'm actually more of a strategist. And people don't naturally know what that means. So I found that I had to spend a lot more time going to events to meet people, so people understood not only who I am, but what I do. And so that was probably the biggest strain on any relationships, was I couldn't go out as much, or maybe I wasn't home all the time to help with homework, or maybe we couldn't go to certain events because I was out of town. So that, I think just balancing the time in the building of my business, and then, being present for relationships.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I put up there about networking because that is so important. But you have mentioned also about networking and being able to really communicate to people what it is that you do, who you serve, and what solution that you offer. I know I've had that challenge as well, because like you said, you provide a service that a lot of times people don't know what that is. So being able to effectively and clearly communicate your value proposition. Can you explain what that process was like? Was your coach able to help you through that process?
Yeah. In fact, it's because of her that I was able to start going out networking. When I met her, part of why my business wasn't growing was because nobody knew what I did. And and it was because I wasn't going out there. And part of why I wasn't going out there was I was always dreading the question. So, hey, what do you do? Right? That's why most people, that's like the most common question you get. And if you do that quickly and articulate that, people kind of tune out. And that was what was happening, was that because I couldn't come up with that clear answer, all I ended up doing was giving a laundry list of here's all the things I can do. And I could see, people were just glazing over and then still never knew what I was doing. So that was one of the first things that when I started working with my coach, was that she said, okay, I started working with her in February. There's networking events coming up, and I think it was like March and April. She said, okay, this is where you sign up for those, and then we're going to work on just little things. So she was helping me craft, to answer that dreaded question, and different strategies on what literally she was giving me some scripts, because I went in, at least I knew, here's the things I can say, here's what I can do. And so that, because it never came naturally to me, that was integral. And then once I got practice at it, and really there's no way to be good at networking unless you just do it, and you just have to get out there and get used to talking with people. And And really, and in the end, it's not that you're going there trying to walk home with like 10 new clients. It's you're going there to make connections, to form relationships. And that was something else that I had to learn about.
Right. So that's important. Be
Yeah.
able to communicate your value proposition, know what it is that you offer. And when you're networking, like she said, it's about making connections, because people mistakenly think they go to these with the intention of selling someone on what it is that they offer. And that is the wrong approach. So you want to really be authentic, really get to know people, let them get to know you, and build those relationships. That's going to get you a lot further than just trying to go somewhere to meet someone to try to make a sale. So again, focus on those relationships. So that's excellent. So tell us about, I know you told us about that it wasn't easy really starting up. I don't know for who it's easy for, but can you tell us some of your like major challenges that you've had in your business that you've been able to overcome?
Yeah, so it was really about, I think the biggest thing for me was visibility. I think visibility and confidence. Those are probably the two things. And they weren't the two things I would have thought, because the symptoms are I'm not bringing in new clients, or I'm not bringing in the right clients, or, there's not enough, I'm trading time for dollars and things like that. And so, those were all symptoms that were manifesting. But ultimately, what it came down to, and this was really in working with my coach, what came down to is the biggest thing is having confidence not only in what I do, but that it actually has an influence on other businesses, and really owning that. And then also being confident in getting out there, and visibility, and building that credibility. So those were the biggest things for me in recognizing that I already have the skill set. I know what to do once I start working with a client, but they're never going to know that until I get out there and talk to them, do speaking. I give a lot of speaking engagements, or I give workshops. And it was just me getting past essentially my own ego, I guess. And realizing that what I have to offer is really important, and people really do need it. They just need to know about it.
Yes. And I think that's so important, because I know that for many of us, we do struggle with that, or we have challenges with confidence and maintaining confidence. And it's not to say that we're not confident, but sometimes when you experience challenges, when you're in business, you experience loss and failure, that can kind of wear on your confidence. So you have to rebuild it. And I know I've experienced some of those struggles as well, so I can really relate. I know a lot of the people in our audience can relate to that. But know that you do have wonderful, great things to offer, just like Jennifer, just like myself. And just be able to get out there, let people know about it, be visible, because if people don't know you, it's going to be hard for you to provide services. Okay, so people need to know about you.
There's a great online entrepreneur out there. His name is Pat Flynn. He runs a space called Smart Passive Income. And this was one of the things that he was encouraging people and saying, own your own and have confidence in your own skill set, and know that people need it. And the analogy he made was like, if you had a cure for cancer, would you keep it to yourself, or would you share it?
Right.
And he said that. I'm like, that makes complete sense. What you and I have to offer, and what entrepreneurs have to offer, is a solution. Someone is struggling with something, and you have the ability to fix their problem. You have an ability to make their life better. And it's a question of owning that space.
Yes, own it. Own it. So tell us about what's been your greatest achievement thus far in your business journey?
It really, it goes back to my visibility. It's amazing the fact that I have really become truly clear about what I have to offer and how to offer it. really, it's again building I built a really solid network, which took a lot more time than I initially thought. And again, it's because of the initial mindset as I'm going to a networking event and my only goal is to come home with sales, and that's not it. And so I've built a really solid network. I have joined organizations and I'm serving on boards now where people, I'm surrounded by some really amazing women. And I think that's probably been one of my biggest achievements is realizing that there's this big network out there of particularly of women here in Cleveland in particular. And so really it's been building my credibility and my visibility even more than what I had started off thinking I was doing.
That's fantastic. So what would you say if you're thinking about success, what does success look like for you? Because it's different for everybody. For you, yes.
Yeah. So for me, success is for us. My husband and I have talked a lot about this. I mean, having money is one thing, but and it's obviously we have 3 kids, so it's incredibly important, right? But it's what we want our money to be able to do for us. And so what's really important for us is having money that can build a solid foundation and provide for the kind of life that we want. And for us, that's making sure that we, we're not. I lived in a family where, as I mentioned, my dad, he was an amazing provider, but he had to work 60, 80 hours a week to do it. And I commend him for it because I know looking back the things he missed on in growing up. And that's not the kind of life that I don't want my kids to ever have to look back and realize that there were things we missed on. So being able to take vacations, being able to build a life where our children are secure and can be educated. And then really in the end, whatever retirement is going to look like, but knowing that we have the ability to care for ourselves and our children, won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, so I love that because it's all about the legacy that you want to leave for your family, for your loved ones. That's really why we do this.
Yeah.
And I like what you said about your father, because you're right. And even in the beginning, we're putting forth so much effort. We're putting in a